All right, so I wanted to show you the next step of your sunset silhouette project. Now, if you remember, a silhouette is just a black outline of an object. You can tell clearly what it is by the edges of it, so you want to be really careful with it. What I want to show you is how to work with scale. So as objects get further away, they get higher towards the horizon line, and they get smaller. So I'm just going to start by putting in some land. So you want to keep your land below the horizon line with the bottom of it. Otherwise it looks like it's floating. So I'm just going to lightly just kind of start to plan it in. Practice this on your practice first. Don't do this on your final. Now you can put land all the way across if you want to have like a lake or something like that. If it's more of an ocean, leave the light or area open all the way to the horizon line. So at the bottom of my land, you can make a mountain or hills or whatever you wanted to do. All right, so I have one land piece here. Can make one really far away. Still keep it below the horizon line. And then try to bring some closer. Now, as things get closer to us, they're going to appear larger. So I could bring another island mass in here. And then if one's really close, it might just kind of cut in the bottom part here. So I kind of have a staggering island. You don't have to do yours exactly like that. You can always check out some of the other examples that are on the slides for you. Now, if I want to add a palm tree, for instance, in the background, it's going to be very small. So I'm just going to bring a couple lines up. And I'll make a few lines like a spider. And I can just add a few little branches. All right, so I have a palm tree here in the distance. Now, if I make another palm tree closer, think of how the composition might be. Maybe you want it going across, maybe you want it coming up this way. It's kind of up to you. I'm gonna bring this one, two lines coming up. This is gonna be a little closer. It's gonna be larger. Now, palm trees get a little bit skinnier towards the top. They're not quite like a oak or maple tree where the trunk is really large. And I'll add my branches, so curved lines. It's like a spider. And then I'll make some curved zigzags for my branches. Now, as objects get closer to us, you might see more details in them. So if one is really close, you might see a bird sitting in the tree, or you might see, coconut, or you might see other details on there. Now, we will fill these in later to make them completely solid, but for now, just keep them open. If I had another palm tree close up, it'd be much larger. And then again, make your branches, they're bigger, so they're closer to us. You're gonna be careful not to pinch off your branches. You don't want something like this where it's all pinched off. You want to keep it a little bit larger, so just bring your lines down a little bit. I'm pressing hard so the camera can pick it up, but you do want to press lightly. You do have some ability to erase over the watercolor, but it is pretty much permanent pretty quick. Now, objects closer in the bottom here, you might have grass or some plants or flowers. I make a little cattail here. I don't know if they have cattails in the tropics, but they might have some sort of weed. I'll put like a parrot sitting here in the tree. I got its tail feathers. Remember, you're just going to be seeing the silhouette of it, so you don't have to worry about too many interior details, just on the outside. Maybe I'm going to add a dock or a pier coming out. If you want it to look stable, make sure you keep your lines vertical and horizontal. If you want it to look like it's falling apart a little bit more, keep your lines a little more diagonal. This we would be coloring in later black and just shade it in so you can see it. You might have a person here or a balloon, hot air balloon, or maybe you have a boat in the distance. So you wouldn't want to put a big boat in the bottom because it would fill up that whole area. So you do want to keep your objects in proportion. So if I had like a little fishing boat back in here, make a little guy in here. And if he's fishing, he's got his fishing rod coming out. Give him a little hat. Stay protected from the sun. Maybe you're going to have a duck or a goose or some other animals. So try to think of some living objects to add into your picture. Let's kind of do his back. It's never a bad idea to look at some reference photos. So I have my goose's head, and then the beak. All right. So try to think of multiple objects to add into your scene so that way it looks more interesting to look at. You could have somebody fishing off of here or a kid playing. Remember that these will all be filled in solid, so you would not want to add an object into the filled in areas because it's going to be covered up with black. You can put some objects in the sky. If you're doing a bird way in the distance, I don't have any problem with doing like the small M birds, but you don't want to do a large bird with an M because you'd see more details. So try to draw more of the wings and the feathers and bird. All right, so make sure you're adding different objects going from close up to distance, adding multiple objects, and do a practice on your practice first. Don't move on to your final until you have a really good handle on how you're gonna make your composition look. You can also add a city in the background if you wanted to, but just kind of plan that ahead of time so that way you're not practicing on your practice. Maybe even drawing on a white piece of paper would be a good idea. All right, so this would be the next step of adding in your background.